Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Michael Zuber, one rental at a time, back with his Wednesday guest and great friend of the channel, Mr. Adrian Hernandez. How you doing, sir?
Let's go. Happy Wednesday.
Hey,
or happy
man.
Saturday, but I'm excited to be on.
Yes, it's my Saturday. I have no idea what it is for you, but it's Saturday for me.
So this morning I woke up, I legitimately thought it was Friday, right? Because I've been gone for the week. So I thought it was Friday. And then I'm starting to, as you start to come, your conscious starts to come back as you're waking up. And I'm like, oh, wait, I got a 9 o'clock. Wait, today's Wednesday.
Hey, man, that is awesome. Cool. Well, one of the things you did since we spoke last week is you went to see someone that I admire and I'd love to interview someday. So I kind of on my board of like one of those people I'd love to interview, Manny Khoshbin. If you don't know who Manny is, you're not paying attention. He is the guy with probably the best car collection on Instagram. He's got Mercedes SLRs, like 7 or 8 of them. He's got Bugattis, but more importantly, he is really kind of a next level real estate investor. He kind of, in my opinion, and it's going to be, you were at the event, so I'm going to love to hear from you. But my understanding of Manny is he kind of took BRRRR to another level. He did it with office buildings. And the beauty about office is you can buy them cheap when they're kind of empty, sprinkle some magic dust on them, fill them up, and just given cap rate compression and a better NOI, you can get massive returns. But that's my one foot understanding of Manny. You were at his event on Friday. I couldn't imagine doing an event with Manny, seeing his car, seeing him talk. So tell us about Manny. Tell us about your takeaways, and I'm just going to sit back and listen.
No, it was incredible, man. It was incredible. And for all of us listening, the premise of this is to get around bigger rooms, right? Mm-hmm. Get around bigger thinkers, get around people that are operating at a much different level that we are operating. It is very important. I surround myself and I'm always in bigger rooms, right? I want to know that I'm the smallest fish in whatever room that I'm in, right? If you guys are ever noticed you're one of the smartest people in your coaching program, you probably should join a new coaching program, right? If you notice you're the biggest fish in that room, you need to find a bigger room. So I really appreciated we were invited to go. You do have to pay, right? But I got a call and they're like, hey, do you want to be here? It's last minute. We have some openings, come down. So, it's interesting. When opportunity knocks, you find a way to open the door, right? You find a way. So I literally canceled everything, immediately booked it. And the moment I walked into that office, instantly you're greeted by a all carbon fiber P1 worth millions of dollars. Wow. You're greeted by a McLaren Speedtail that does 0 to 200 miles an hour in, what did he say? Like 11 seconds, 10 seconds, something stupid.
Jeez.
Yeah, exactly. And you're seeing all of these multi-million-dollar cars, and then you see Manny, right? And then you get to talk to Manny. And the biggest thing that I got from the event was how simple he keeps it. Mm-hmm. Yes, just like you said, he took BRRRR to a completely different level when it comes to office buildings. But not only that, what I noticed was a direct correlation to what he was saying and what you talk about, Michael, as far as, getting creative, finding one rental at a time. The first thing he said was find one building. Find one building and take it from there, but study that building, right? So he talked about studying the NOIs, understanding and getting creative on a deal. Give you an example. He bought a project in Costa Mesa for $20 million, right? They have both short-term and long-term exits on these. So the short-term, right, is to do wedding venues. He's going to turn it into a nice big venue, right? Going to allow events, going to allow weddings, and he's going to have his car collection there. So like a museum, right? That's short term. And the returns are huge right now on what he was describing on the short term. Mm-hmm. But the long-term play, and catch this, ladies and gentlemen, it's important that we are always being creative, right? And that was the biggest thing I got from the event is how creative they are. The long-term play is they're going to bulldoze the whole thing down, build multi-units and sell it for $100 million.
Wow.
But they have to go through entitlements and city and all, right? Costa Mesa is a tight city. So it's going to take some time. So they figure, well, this is going to take us anywhere between 7 to 8 years to fully get entitlements and build. So the short term is that, and the long term is a $100 million exit.
I just want to play that out. Cause again, I don't remember this. I'm sure he said it in all his videos, but when did Manny kind of dip his toe in? How long ago to the office market? Like a decade ago, 15 years?
Yeah, 50, in between 10 to 15 years ago, I believe. Don't quote me on that.
No, yeah, it's just our impression. Really what I want to highlight here is just like one rental at a time with single family homes. You get started, learn your thing, learn your craft, get in, go through a cycle, go through an exit. Maybe it's not the best exit. Maybe it's refi debt, recycle capital, like I talk about all the time. But then once you're in it and you have kind of history and experience, it is amazing how your mind just expands. So talking about this Costa Mesa project, he's probably looking at it, a noob, right? A new investor looks at it and goes, oh, look at all this dirt. What could it be? Right. And then goes, oh, we can't do it because it'll take us 8 years, right? We don't have the carrying costs. We don't have the stroke, whatever. Manny's like, screw that. I'm going to find a way to use this for the next 8 years. And oh, by the way, have it be fun because he has his car collection. It's a museum. And oh, by the way, in the background, he's going to run this process. And when it comes out, he'll just take his cars out, bulldoze it, and do something else. So, I love the fact that you first said he keeps it simple and then he's creative. I think that is fun.
Yeah, I did a video with him for Instagram, and the video is 5 seconds, not even of him talking, right? Because that's how simple it is. He goes, find a deal that's underperforming, get it to perform, right? And turn around and sell it.
Yeah.
And it's like, it really is that simple, but we overcomplicate it.
Yeah.
And just like the buy box, right? The buy box is so simple, but we want to overcomplicate it with all these other metrics. There's no other metrics. It's simple.
Yeah.
And that was one thing I got from him is how simple he keeps it, and then how creative he is. Because he talked about other deals where, there's a strip mall on the market for 70 days. All these other investors looked at it. He ended up picking it up. And what he did was Kmart was on the building. So there was Kmart on they had 15 years remaining. And then there was another strip piece next to it. Mm-hmm. So what he did is he subdivided the strip mall and got Kmart to be its own APN and then sold Kmart to Kmart,
right?
Made half of his money back on the acquisition, and then is now making that other strip a performing asset. When you look when you look on a face value of the deal, the cap didn't make sense,
right?
But after you sold to Kmart and after you improved this and got rents up, now all of a sudden it's double of what it's worth. Oh, but he only paid half of that because remember he got half of it back from Kmart.
Exactly.
So you guys, we have to learn to get creative here. But the way to get creative is we got to get around the mind, right? You got to be more involved in one rental at a time. You got to actually take what you're hearing and implement it. Because one thing I got was the only difference, and this was big for me, because the only difference was that Manny just chose to believe in something bigger than what most people choose to believe in.
Yeah, when I watch Manny's stuff, and I do watch his stuff, I like cars, so he's got all of them. But more importantly, the way he communicates, he just kind of speaks to me. And one of the things that I take away from Manny and why I enjoy my conversations with you every week is you push me to think bigger. So greatly appreciate you for that. So any other kind of closing comments about Manny? It looks like you went to lunch with his wife as well. I think I saw on your Instagram feed.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was a really good time. I mean, the biggest, when I look back to real estate and what we can implement, just get outside our box, guys. There were so many people in that room from so many different industries, from pharmaceuticals to someone who sold a wholesale company. And it's interesting because they're all gravitating towards Manny, right? And that's because Manny's just operating at a completely different frequency. Yeah. And what's interesting too, is Manny made a couple of $1 million flipping exotic cars.
I'm sure he has. Yeah.
He's turned his day-to-day operation into a lifestyle that he really enjoys. And it really challenged me. And I hope it challenged all of us to really think bigger, really think that what we're doing, it's great. There's nothing wrong with it, but there is so much more out there. I mean, this guy flipped the same building 3 times. Bought it as a pre-foreclosure, fixed it up, flipped it, bought it back as a free foreclosure, and fixing it up again. He made 3 different paychecks, and not just regular paychecks, 6-figure paychecks, right? Amazing, more, probably a couple of $1 million actually, when you look at all of it on one deal. And then this was big, right? So it's interesting because on what day did we go? Friday, Thursday, I'm negotiating an EMD on a deal.
Okay.
They want 3%. It's a $500,000 acquisition. They want $15,000 on an EMD, non-refundable. And I'm like, what are you guys talking? No, like let's get it $5,000. Why is it so high? Right? I don't understand. Why is it $15,000? I don't get it. And then this goes to show my mind, right? Then I get to the event and I'm like, hey, Manny, how much was the EMD on that? We started talking about EMDs. How much was the EMD on that building? He goes, oh, it was 1.5 million non-refundable. I said, 1.5 million non-refundable. He goes, before I even submitted the offer, 1.5 million, before I even got to talk to the people, it was a $1.5 million EMD non-refundable. And in my mind, I go, I was just complaining about a $15,000 EMD yesterday, and he's talking about a 1.5 non-refundable. Adrian, think bigger, brother.
Write that check.
Think bigger. So
I love
there's
Manny.
a bigger game to be played, guys, but we got to be exposed to it. We got to get out there and be exposed to it. And then we got to get creative because these guys are making millions of dollars by just being super creative with their deals. They're not looking at just a normal cap. They're not just looking at what you can normally do with the building. So when you look at a house, don't just look at it as a wholesale. Don't just look at it as a flip. Look at all of the different creative exit strategies for that, because that was my biggest takeaway from that. They're just doing it with buildings. They're just doing it with 10 million, 20 million, $30 million properties, where we're doing it with a couple of 100,000.
Yeah. It's just another zero or maybe 2 zeros. I mean, what's the big deal?
And it's just a different belief.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It really is. It's just a different tweak in the mindset to believe that I could make a couple of $1 million flipping cars, and I could also make hundreds of millions of dollars doing real estate.
That's awesome, man. Well, thank you for going. I love the summary. Adrian, how can people find you and get part of your world?
Yeah. Instagram at Adrian Hernandez, YouTube, Adrian Hernandez. And I want to thank you, Michael, because I was like hovering under 1,000. And ever since we started doing this, I'm like at 1,010 now. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
1,010. Oh, that's awesome, man. Get folks, Adrian Hernandez, go follow him. Let's get him to 1,100.
Let's go.
Thanks,
Thank you, brother.
Uh-huh.